Welcome, everyone. It's July 20th, 2023. I'm Tonson. We have quite a program today with Will Barney, our lovely co-builder of the Golden Age. And we'll get started here in a minute. This is a Brilliance in Commerce program, and we have, it must be close to 100 people joining, and many hundreds more will be watching the playbacks on Rumble. We usually post them on Rumble. So thank you for joining us. Those who called in by phone, welcome. Those who are watching by video, you can see the screen. This is a project of La Verite, House of Freedom International Natural Law Trust, and Liberty Debt Elimination Systems and other programs. We're members of the Fair International Commerce Worldwide Charter. So take a look at that on the website. I think you'll like it if you haven't already. And we have a phone number, 360-200-7521 for anyone who needs it. So we have the world situation update and the developments in the last few months since April, which was the last time we did a Zoominar with Will. So Will, let's proceed, and we will go into Q&A, in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. So everyone save your questions. You can put them into chat, and then we'll turn off the screen sharing.
Excellent. So glad to be with you all here tonight. Thank you, Tonson, for inviting me back.
Absolutely.
And that we could have this moment together. We're at a pivotal point in history. I'm sure many of you sense that. It's not to be understated. We're undergoing such a transition in the world. Many have compared the coming events to like the parting of the Red Sea. Well, this is far beyond that. The scope is much bigger. It covers the entire planet. And this isn't just freedom of Egypt. This is freedom of the world. And so exciting that we can get together and we can have these Zoom meetings and we can talk about things that are going on. So much has happened over the summer since we last did a call. There's no way I can touch on everything because it's coming in fast and furious right now. Hopefully you all are watching for the information as best you can as we're nearing a point of the collapse of the deep state. So we're going to see several things transpire. I've made a list of things here. I'm going to kind of go down and cover several of these topics. I've got a full sheet here and I was just beginning. So I thought, you know what, I better keep this to one sheet. Otherwise we're going to be here all night. Many of you have known that there's a new movie out called The Sound of Freedom that's exposing child sex trafficking across the globe. It's doing very well here in America. On Tuesday, it hit 100 million in sales, which is unbelievable for an independent film like this. But it's very well done. I actually went and saw it last week with my wife. And I honestly think everyone should see the film. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, the content is heavy, but they don't really show anything that's graphic that you got to worry about if you have young people with you. But this is not an accident that it's coming out right now, because this is all going to dovetail in with everything else you've been seeing. There's been banking records literally released by the House of Representatives, predominantly the Republicans, about the Bidens, and that they have literally linked the money through various bank accounts into dozens and dozens of shell corporations from entities around the world. So this is exposing their pay-to-play scheme that they've had going on for some time. And the child sex trafficking is an important topic because we're going to find that many of these same individuals, whether it be Biden's, Obama's, Clinton's, and many others, are also tied in with the child sex trafficking, unfortunately. And so this is coming to the consciousness of people so that we can be prepared for those revelations as they unfold. One of the things that's interesting here in July, and this started right about the beginning of the month, we're now to the 20th, so 3 weeks in, the military's been on mass movement throughout the United States. There have been heavily movements in 27 states. There's more coming. We've even seen it here locally. They were literally driving a tank down the main drag here in town. It was unbelievable. So a lot of choppers going overhead, military aircraft. Everybody's like, what's going on? Well, we're actually in the midst of the roundup, and they're kind of doing this strategically because they can't, this isn't something you can do in one day. It's just too big for that. So they're doing it in pieces. And what we're beginning to hear reports of is the internet outages are happening in some areas for an hour, for 2 hours or 3 hours, then it comes back on. Well, these dark periods are so that they can do their stuff that they need to do in terms of taking these people into custody, and can stop their communications with any of the outside people. So you're going to continue to hear of this. You will probably begin to hear of testing of the emergency broadcast system in various areas. There was actually some testing going on in Florida today of the EBS. This is all preparation for the EBS that goes nationwide when we get to that point. So that was kind of exciting that we're seeing so much happen here in July. There seems to be some indications that we could possibly hit the point of the wealth transfer beginning this month. I realize there's only 11 days left. That's not a lot of time, but at the movement that this is moving in terms of activity and what's being exposed, things could move very rapidly. What I do expect in terms of some of the historical assets and revaluation of currencies is that some of that will take place during the quiet time. In other words, when the EBS happens, there's going to be stay in your homes. There's going to be 10 days of communication blackout, or at least that's what we're hearing. And there could be during that time, even appointments being made and transactions being done very quietly in the background. This will be all with heavy NDAs. No one's supposed to talk about their transactions, talk about where they get their money or anything like this. It's going to take some time to work through that. I think between now and let's say into September, or maybe late September, so the next 2 months plus, we could be seeing those things take place in the background. I think by the time we get into late September, it's going to be publicly in the face of everyone, hey, there's a financial change occurring here. I hate putting dates to anything, and I want to just put a window out there. It is a 2023 thing, and this is all subject to change at any given day. So, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, well, don't freak out. It is unfolding, and it will happen. Some of the things that we've been seeing over the last week here is train derailments continuing. We've had 3 additional quite nasty ones, spilling chemicals and stuff. The deep state has been using trains to move, shall we say, cargo that they shouldn't be moving. And so there's some of these are having to be initiated, unfortunately, to stop the movements of this stuff. And others is the deep state trying to cause a catastrophe, such as chemicals in the water, in the ground, something of this nature that they can distract the public with of some new catastrophe while they carry on what they're doing. So don't get too, pardon the pun, derailed by this, because this is all noise. And another thing that's interesting as a bit of noise is there's been a lot of talk about the white powder in the White House. Okay. We don't want to get too distracted by this. Oh, they did an investigation. They don't know who did it, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'll just put it this way. When you have a Sleepy Joe in the White House, sometimes you need to keep him awake. So enough said there. And we'll probably never know. But don't stress about it. That's really not an important story. It's just an interesting, part of the unfolding here. Something happened today that was, or was it last night? But I think it was earlier today. A tornado hits a Pfizer plant in North Carolina. And this was very interesting. Like, why did just tornado come out of nowhere and hit this Pfizer plant? It literally destroyed the plant. We saw some messages coming over from some of the people that are in the military connections that were claiming that the good guys, the Patriots, have seized control of some of the HARP equipment, and they now can do tit for tat. And I think we just saw that play out today. Couple other things going on. Maybe I don't know if you guys are watching Resignations. A few years ago, Q told us to watch the resignations. Well, there's been some interesting ones just this week. We had the Pakistani government resign. That's not a small thing. We had, and that comes after what we had the Danish government resign 2 weeks ago. Also, we had the resignation of the defense minister in the UK. We also had the prime minister of Singapore also resign, being caught up in what they claim was an inappropriate relationship. I think it goes way beyond that, if you know what I mean. So these things are all evidences of the war that were underway here, and that the good guys are winning. I want you guys to realize we're winning every day now. There are battles being won, and you should not be discouraged. In fact, you should be more excited than ever right now, because there's nothing they can do to stop the impending justice. It's barreling down on them like a freight train, and they don't know how to stop it. But it's exciting that we're getting to this point, that we've gotten. This was kind of a top-down thing. They had to work their way down, but now we're getting into those middle people, those lower level deep staters. By the time we get to EBS, there won't be any big names to round up. They've already been handled. Okay. So that'll be good news, because I think when the people find out, when things are revealed and they realize what kind of criminality was going on, what kind of things were happening, and especially the tie-in with the children and what was going on with that, they're going to be angry. And so how do you calm the masses down that are angry? Well, you begin tribunals and you begin justice, so that they feel that it's been taken care of. So we can expect that to come. One of the other things that's interesting is the go woke, go broke that's happening here, particularly in America. I'm watching it here closely, but this is probably happening everywhere in many countries. I know in Europe it's happening. Companies, and then we really saw this in June. Companies started getting on the bandwagon with the pride parades and the pride displays and everything else, the LGBTQ stuff. And it was wildly rejected by the people. The pushback was enormous. Target put up a display in some of their stores. The people quit coming. They lost $2 billion in valuation in a week. Ben & Jerry's put out a statement on the 4th of July about the Indians and that they've been robbed, and well, suddenly people aren't buying Ben & Jerry's ice cream. They lost $2 billion in valuation in a week. And this on top of what we saw with the Budweiser Corporation, with Bud Light, and several other things. So this tells you that the people are not going with anything that is not normal, right? They're not into kinky They're not into weird stuff, and they're certainly not into harming children. And the quiet voice of the majority is no longer quiet. Everyone's now speaking very loudly with their wallets, and we can expect probably to see a little more of that. The pendulum might swing where it goes just, you know, maybe a little too far the other way rather than settling in the middle, which tends to happen when things start shifting. But it certainly, this is a major change that's going on there. One of the things that came to my attention that I thought was interesting is bankruptcy filings. We are now seeing corporate bankruptcy filings on a numbers level that we haven't seen since the last recession, which was in 2009. The numbers are now beginning to exceed 2009. This is going to pick up speed, and we're going to see more go out. In fact, some of these woke companies may find themselves in bankruptcy when there's no more income coming in. So that's another interesting tidbit you might pay attention to. Another big thing happened last week. XRP won its lawsuit against the SEC. So what does this mean? Well, it means that XRP and cryptocurrencies are not a security. That was the big complaint. Once that was finished, XRP shot up. Oh man, it had like a 40% jump in hours. And XLM, I think, boosted as well. We're going to see there's a little bit of gyrations going on there. It might settle down a little bit, but I have a feeling that some of these, in particular, like the XRP, XLM stuff, may begin to really take a lift as the bank apocalypse comes into full force. And what I mean by bank apocalypse is a couple of things. I want to cover a little bit of that today because I follow this stuff, having been in banking. Goldman Sachs announced its quarterly earnings were down 58%. Not only did they not make a profit, they were down 58%. This was massive. And a lot of that was tied into commercial real estate holdings that are just starting to take a bloodbath. Bank of America, Wells Fargo facing massive commercial banking losses. This is commercial properties, office buildings, even retail, and it's affecting all of them. So what's happened is Bank of America has now set aside $847 million to try to cover the next quarter of losses. Okay, it's pretty big, but not to be outdone, but are outdone. Wells Fargo set aside $900 million plus to try to cover their losses. And Chase was even worse. They had to put aside $1.2 billion to try to cover their losses. And they announced that in the last 12 months, $200 billion in deposits have left Chase Bank. This is huge, folks. We have the makings of a banking apocalypse unlike anything we've ever seen in our lives. So I hope you're making plans, moving assets into real things and real stuff, because you're going to want to be holding something real when the dust settles here. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but this is going to make 2008 and 9 look like child's play. Okay. When the old system comes down, it will come down completely. This is going to be the death of the Federal Reserve System. So you can imagine that it's bad. It will be, but it has to die if we're going to have a future, if we're going to have a new currency, if we're going to have something that magnifies us and launches us forward into a beautiful future. So those are things that are going on right now. One of the things to watch is when it comes to financial stuff, Germany is on just a trigger edge of complete financial collapse. They're not saying anything about this, but they are in big trouble. Deutsche Bank, big trouble. We already saw what happened with Credit Suisse. They got swallowed up. and the Swiss government even had to step in and back everything up, you know, to make this deal workable to take out Credit Suisse. Guys, there's a lot of toxic things going on in the banking system in Europe. And it looks like Germany and France economies are about to implode. When they do, and I think it's a certainty, it will eventually happen. Once that happens, I think you're going to see a series of dominoes that's going to, within hours, move to Canada, move to the United States, stock market losses, everything else going on. So there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be rough. Okay. I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is not going to be anything like we're used to seeing. This is why we say, hey, get some water, get some food, you know, have some metals, have a little cash, have something on the hand, because when this begins to hit, the first thing that'll happen is all credit will freeze up. Well, what does that mean? I mean, suddenly your plastic doesn't work anymore. Your debit cards, your credit cards, they're going to be done. Okay. And that's just the consumer level. On the corporate or commercial side, it means all these credit lines with these big companies suddenly freeze. Well, every truckload delivered to your local grocery store is delivered on a credit line. So you can imagine there's going to be some disruptions in that. That's why just, you know, stock up, do what you can. I realize not everybody's in a position to be, you know, ready for 3 months worth of supplies, but get what you can. They're going to try to make this as short-lived as possible. I think we're looking at maybe 3 weeks on the outside. Okay. Hopefully it's only a week to 2 weeks. Okay. Of challenges or difficulties as we move through that, because once the old system is declared dead, now we can introduce new currency, and there will be the opportunity where people can then go to their bank, exchange their money for the new currency, and we get everything back on track. And it really won't take that long to get back on track, but we're going to have to go through the death nail regardless. There's just no way around that one. So don't want to belabor that point. I just wanted to talk about a couple other things. There has been an explosion of information coming out about medicine and how the people are beginning to look for something else. They don't want a chemical in their arm anymore. They want real solutions. I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me back it. Can you see that? This little black box. This box is called a QT wave device. I recently received this from Quantum Healing Systems, and this is some of the new technology that's coming out, where healing is frequency. So what's happening is the device scans the body. I'm going to try to hold it. I hope you can see that. So the device scans the body. You keep it on you, put it in your pocket, near your person. It needs to be within 2 feet of you, or it's got a little thing here you can put on lanyard, hang around your neck. You charge it like you would a cell phone. It charges pretty quick, like maybe hour and a half. And it scans the body for any parts of the body that's out of sync with normal functioning. They have mapped 45,000 frequencies in the human body of various parts of the body that should be resonating on certain frequency levels. And if they're not, or something's interrupted, then this finds that, and it begins to send healing frequencies and energies to that part of the body to restore your health. I just got it. I'll check in with you next time and let you know how wonderful it is, because I've only had it a couple of days. But this is some cool new technology. They have additional units that are going to be coming forward that's designed to, that's bigger, more powerful, that you put in your house. And it will track and maintain up to 7 people in a home. And so that's going to be pretty nice when that comes out. I want to say they're $3,000 to $4,000 for a home unit. This one I got, personal one, I think I paid $400 for it. This company is working on their own med bed. The doctor that's been working on this has been doing it for decades. He had a prototype in the early 90s. Unfortunately, there were people in the government that didn't want him bringing this out. And anyways, people from the government confiscated one of these beds and got rid of it. They thought everything was gone, but he had another one. It's recently come out of hiding, if you will, and is being updated with everything he's learned since then. And the big one was called the QT ARC, or the Q ARC, excuse me. And it's basically a full med bed. So people will be able to get in there, and it scans the body and then starts moving back over to restore everything that's not in sync with your DNA. As we age, our DNA gets, for lack of a better term, corrupted, right? So things don't work quite the same way they do. You know, our skin maybe isn't as soft and youthful. We get gray hair. All these things are just issues of the DNA being slightly corrupted. And then as we develop new cells, those cells are slightly corrupted. So these devices are about getting us back to the original DNA, and then to begin building new cells, right, from the original blueprint, and you can begin to restore yourself over time. So I'm really excited about that. I think there's going to be, this is just one company. There's probably many working on it. I really like what they're doing, and can't wait to report on that down the road, because I think the real key here is, and I know many of you understand this, frequency is our future. Absolutely. And the healing technologies based on frequency are going to be what really launches us into a much better, more healthy and beautiful life ahead. So with that, Tonson, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Fascinating. So we have a bunch of questions coming in. And let's see, good morning. Hi, everyone. We got people from Australia. Thank you for joining us from down under, all over the world.
Great.
Let's see. Namaste. Hi, Will. We are all blessed by your positive, loving energy. Is the Fed now in alignment with the QFS or a deep state plan? Also, is the Global Monetary Authority a legitimate holder of our funds or deep state? This is from Dr.
Well, it's a good question, and I'm going to try to answer it the best way that I can at this point. Here's my understanding. The deep state is going all in because they're done. So they may as well go for broke, right? They're trying to push everything in. Oh, let's go to Fed now, Fed now. I think what's going to actually happen is the Fed now is going to end up being cover for a transition to QFS. And I don't think it's going to be harmful for us at all. At least from my sources, that's what I'm hearing, is that they'll use, that'll be a cover story, and everybody will probably be freaking out about it, but it really will end up being a transition to a new system. So that's my understanding on that. In terms of do they own all of our accounts and everything? Here's what's been happening for decades, and this applies to everybody around the globe. They've been issuing birth certificates, monetizing those certificates and trading them. Okay. There is accounts with a massive amount of money in there that relates to those people. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to get all that money back that they traded, excuse me, but there is going to be some gifts that are going to come to the people. And it's going to help alleviate some of this pain of what we're experiencing with the dying old system. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Makes sense. Thank you. Okay, we have Shannon. Would you like to join us and say hi to everybody?
Hello, hello. Should I start by video or just talk?
Sure, yeah,
Hi,
absolutely.
Shannon. Good to have you.
Hi, Will. Okay, I can't start my video.
That's okay. You can still ask a question.
That's okay. Okay, so Will, I have a couple of questions, okay?
Sure.
First of all, some of us in my group, we've been following some of the Sound of Freedom stuff.
Mhm.
We have read a very, very interesting Substack article, and it's like the going down the rabbit hole with Tim Ballard. And it looks like he and even Jim Caviezel and some of these other people are actually involved in the human trafficking.
Uh,
And they're
okay.
Freemasons, and it's just it's kind of nauseating why to think about, why would they be going to all this effort to put a movie like this together if they are actually, involved in this. And the other thing is that Ballard fellow is a Mormon, and his father is one of the 12 apostles, and his grandfather was too. And there's huge connections that they made in this rabbit hole Substack article about them.
I saw the Substack article this afternoon.
Oh, did you?
So
Okay.
I did read it. I'll tell you what I know from personal experience. I've actually met Tim a number of years ago. He was looking for funding to continue their operations with the rescuing kids. I read the article.
Yeah.
I realize it's so easy to draw conclusions when you don't know the backstory.
Okay.
And in fact, you can just see two people in a picture together and go, "Oh, they're in cahoots." And it could be something as simple as like Trump just took a picture with somebody somewhere, right? And they want to say he's a terrible person, or this other person is bad. So here's what I know. Having met Tim, I don't say that I know him that well, but I've met him. We've had personal conversation. I didn't get a sense that this guy was sideways at all. I think we have to be careful when we see a movie like this coming out that's bringing attention to such an ugly subject, and it is, that that we don't start throwing babies out with the bathwater. Nobody's perfect,
Right.
but I think the message of this coming to the conscience of the people must be looked at, because as the people, we have to see the ugliness that is amongst us if we're going to change it. We have to acknowledge it.
Absolutely.
And so don't get so caught up in that and go, "Oh my gosh, these are terrible people. What could possibly they be trying to do here?" It kind of doesn't matter to me what any of those stories are. The fruits of what they produced here are buried themselves in, I think, a positive manner generally. And so that being said, there's also a lot of people who are involved in this kind of activity who want to disparage the film and anybody surrounding it, right? Let's make the whole thing look like it's this really terrible, evil thing, and then they'll get the heat off our backs. You've got to step back sometimes when this information comes at you and sit on it for a minute and consult your heart. I think your heart will always lead you in the right direction. Do I think that the person who put the Substack together had it wrong? I'm not saying that they do. I'm just saying that sometimes when you find information, you can make assumptions if you don't know the people involved or the backstory. So we should all be careful about how we judge one another. I think it's good that the topic is being discussed.
Yeah.
And to me, that is a positive thing right now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, let me switch topics real quick to the quantum healing system that you just brought up. Okay. I'm aware of that system as well. And before that system kind of exploded onto the scene in the last several months, we had been hearing that the med beds were going to be provided through the military, and that there was not going to be any charge at all for med beds. They were going to be free. And I thought that the medbed technology was going to be some of the secret technology that's already been in place, being used by the secret space program and the super soldiers for really quite some time. And, my feeling was that when President Trump was talking about building all those beautiful ventilators early on, I thought
Yeah.
that they were probably building med beds at that time. And, I've heard that, med beds have already been built and everything like that. And so I'm just a little bit confused as to, whether this quantum healing system is, the real med bed, or, exactly
Well,
what.
to be honest, there are multiple types of med beds that have been developed by various different people, all being inspired to. Most of them are all in the vein of frequency healing. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the good thing. Will we get access to all the military stuff right away? If we had all the hospital beds converted tomorrow, let's say every room had a med bed in it, we would be months and years still trying to process people. This is not something that's going to happen in a day, a week, a month. It's just going to be ongoing. And there is going to be various types of med beds. Some might come out, those super advanced ones. I think those are going to be towards the latter end of this type of healing. In my mind, that makes sense, because some of that's going to be a little bit, those that are awake, like yourself, oh, you're ready. But other people may not be. And the interesting thing about these med beds is you do need to believe that it's going to help you if you're going to have success with it.
Right.
Because the truth of the matter is, we heal ourselves. Healing's built into us. However, in this environment that we're in, we're bombarded with everything. We're bombarded with dissonant frequencies. We've got Wi-Fi. We've got cellular frequencies. We got everything coming at us all the time. Even the wires in our house are running at 60 hertz, which is not even compatible with the Earth. I don't know where they come up with the number. So we got all it, and Europe's 50. I think if you wanted to sync up with the Earth, you'd be somewhere between the two, right? And probably a fractional number. So here's the situation. I think you're going to see dozens and dozens of people with technology trying to get their technology out to help people to try to start this process. There are 8 billion people on this planet. This is going to take a while.
Okay,
So what I say is, the more companies that want to get involved and start bringing healing to people, let's make it happen. Because if we don't, how do we get everybody? It's going to take years.
Sure.
So I think we just all unite together, and if a certain thing, like I've got this device, but why did I purchase this? Well, it resonated with me. I think that'll be good for me.
Perfect.
And I think that's what you have to do, is you have to say, I like this approach. I think this is going to work for me. Because if you believe that, you'll get it. Because honestly, I think what these things do is they help to hold the energy, but I think really we do the healing ourselves, if that makes sense.
That does. I've got one last little question. And you were talking about how the birth certificates had been traded, and
Mhm.
that with this switchover of the financial system, that people might get a little bit of relief. This is not what you're considering NESARA just yet. And, are they going to really switch over this financial system with the resident in place?
No, you won't
Okay.
see it change. You won't see it change until Biden is gone.
Okay, but you kind of indicated that within the next 2 months that this change might be happening. So
Yeah. So does
are
Biden
you
make it 2 more months? I don't know. I'm just saying that here's what I know.
okay?
By the time we hit the 22nd of August, so a month out from now, most of the world will have completely decoupled from the US dollar, the Federal Reserve dollar. So what does that mean? It's going to be mass panic. It's going to mean the value of the Federal Reserve note is going to drop massively. These things are already planned. They're already scheduled. These countries have already said by this date, we're dropping it. So I tend to think we're going to see some things happen, and Biden must go. There's no way that he gets credit for something as beautiful as what's coming.
That's what I
That,
thought.
that
That's
won't
very,
happen. Not,
okay.
not even close.
Very
And I don't know
good
what's
to
going to, maybe we don't know what's going to happen with the guy. Maybe he gets a little too much white powder one night and he's done anyway. We'll see.
But this is not NESARA just yet. Is that correct?
When the system switches, yes, it's about NESARA JASARA. It's about restoring the Republic of the United States. We've been involved in a corporation since 1871.
Yeah.
And the actual real government has been sitting in mothballs and cobwebs. So if we restore that and reignite that, it means several things. One is the original Constitution only had 13 or 14 amendments, something like that, at the time that they activated the corporation. So there may only be 14, let's just call it, constitutional amendments, and all the others are not part of that. Okay. Some people had said, "Oh, that's terrible." I said, "Why is it terrible?" Well, because women got the right to vote with those additional amendments. I said, "You've always had the right to vote." The whole thing was a deception. Women's suffrage and all that was a whole marketing campaign they put on. What happened in the old days is power came from the people through really basic means. And it was simple. If you own a piece of land, and I don't care if it's a little quarter-acre lot your house sits on or you got acres, it doesn't matter. If you own that piece of land, you control the politics on your piece of land. Therefore, if your name was on the deed, you could go vote because you had power to grant government because you controlled political power, at least on the boundaries of your property. This is why it was power from the people. What happened with these further amendments is they began to tell, oh, anybody can vote, even if you're a renter or you're whatever, right? And they got away from that because they were moving us to fascism, which they completed by 1971. So the corporation operates as fascism today. That is what it is. Okay. I don't want to sugarcoat that. But if we're going to go back to the original Constitution, if your name's on the deed with your husband or whatever, yeah, you can vote, right? You own political power. You control political power because you own a piece of ground. And so this, we're going to see home ownership go through the roof in the new system because there's not going to be all this debt. There's not going to be all the taxation. And it's going to be so much easier for everybody to then own their own home. And I think it's going to be a much happier way of life as we do that. That would mean that Trump, if he's the next president, would be the 19th president. because Grant was the 18th, and he was the last one
right,
when
right,
they made
right.
the the corporation. So yeah, we're going to have to learn, I think, a little bit about our history and about where we come from. We were this has been the freest nation ever in the history of the world generally. And even though we feel like we're entrapped right now, we're going to end this. We're going to march out of Egypt, figuratively speaking, and it's going to be a whole new world. What will hurt us is if we do like the Israelites did years ago, and they try to bring the Egyptian ways with them. We need to get rid of the deep state stuff, and we just move forward with what we ought to do. So, thank you for your questions; they were great. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll let somebody else talk now.
Thank you, Shannon. Glenn, you have your hand up. Would you like to speak to us?
Can I talk?
Hi, Glenn. I hear you.
Hey, knowing about the Liber Code, Reconstruction Act, Act of 1871, all that stuff, and the current regime is under maritime admiralty law.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to reconstruct a common law government?
Yes. And this is why they put that in the SARA, was that all lawyers and judges will have to go through a form of classes or school to learn constitutional law, because many of them have never practiced it. They don't know what it is.
That's understood. How do we seat? In other words, I understand that Michigan is already a settled de jure state, as well as Alaska. They have a
yes, and each state can do that, because the United States is a country of united sovereign states. So each state is technically sovereign unto itself. Okay. And has more power than they even realize. This is why, the National Guard in each state we would consider that in the Constitution as the militia, right?
right.
Each state's militia. But the governors have a full executive authority in their states. And this relates to the money story, because even in the 60s, when they were trying to corporatize everything, they finally got the post office corporatized, right, in 1968 as the U.S. Postal Service. There were governors that knew things were off because they were paying the bills of their state using Federal Reserve notes. And the Constitution in their state said you could only use real money, which was backed by gold and silver. And they wasn't sure that the Federal Reserve note really constituted that. And they were worried about it, which is why they pushed every state to incorporate, which eventually happened by 71. So that's what allowed us to go off of the gold standard, and Nixon took us off completely. Well, that's because finally they had a full unitization of corporations, at that point.
One quick one. Are you familiar with the fact that Alaska and Michigan are de jure?
I know it. I knew Alaska was. I didn't know Michigan had gotten that far. Texas is about to declare itself, I think. And actually, we're going to see many once it becomes in the public knowledge, like you start seeing it on a news or whatever, you're going to see other states move very rapidly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be like dominoes just knocking over.
Well, thank you, Glenn. Okay, Patricia, would you like to say hi to us?
I would. I get to be your
Hi,
good news
Patricia.
ambassador today.
Ah,
It's
Excellent.
my-
We like
it's
good
my-
news.
Well, we don't get enough of it these days, I'm afraid. But I do have good news. The people have peacefully and lawfully reclaimed our American governance, which is to be of, by, and for the people. And we've done it peacefully and lawfully. So consider this today your Paul Revere wake up, because it's only the people acting peacefully and lawfully for ourselves as individuals and our fellow Americans that can do that. So this is freedom
Agreed.
by way of knowledge and patriotic action. I can tell you now that all 50 states are in session as the Union of States and Federation of States. We've done this, and we are in session with a capital S.
Oh, good.
And our state had our session Wednesday evening, as a matter of fact. And it's very exciting what we're doing. What you're talking about, reference birth certificates and all of that, is well within our realm of knowledge. But the main thing is we're solving the problem and going back to the original governance, the way it was supposed to be. And so I'm
Yes.
going to give you guys a couple of websites so you can check it out. I'm on Nevada, so you can go to www.nevadaassembly.org and you'll get
Mhm.
one state's example. But our whole country website is TASA, that stands for the American States Assembly, tasa.americanstatenationals.org. And I encourage you folks to go there because you can get a whole lot of information. And it's very exciting to be part of the solution as opposed to just being hurt by the problem.
Sure.
Because
Sure.
when you can be part of the solution, it's so much better. So
Sure is.
get to be
That's
the good
awesome.
news ambassador today.
Well, thank you so
My
much. I appreciate
privilege.
you sharing.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Patricia. Always
My
welcome
pleasure.
good news. Gail, you are on the air if you want to be.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Tenson. Thank you very much, Will. Appreciate your
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank you. I wanted to ask about the QFS system as it relates to the RV. Will RV funds go directly into the QFS system? Thank
All
you.
distributions will be done through the QFS. You can move funds to your bank, but when you have when you go to your closing, we'll just call it that, you'll set up your information on the QFS system, and then you'll have the ability to then move it to your local bank account if you want to. So it'll be up to you what you do there. But yeah, everything's moving to that.
Thank you so much. And just to ask, as far as insurance, that's any kind of FDIC insurance that has nothing to do with the QFS system, or is insurance needed?
No, that's part of the Federal Reserve banking system.
Mhm.
They've actually exhausted the FDIC with the bank failures earlier in March and April. They're not telling you that, but they're out.
Okay.
So when stuff hits, it's going to be very difficult. Now, I do think that they're going to try to help as many people as they can. But even if they find ways of supporting the FDIC and putting more funds into the program, I don't know that they're going to honor above those limits. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Even though they technically did that earlier in April, I don't think you'll see that going forward. The interesting thing is that the new money, it can go to a bank account in an existing bank, but it will not be distributed through that bank system. That bank system, the software that runs on all the banks today is actually called Babylon. I don't know if you guys know that. It's the name of the software. So Babylon is going to fall, okay? And there's going to be a reset of everything. So what'll happen is instead of the Fed and interacting with the banks, the Treasury is going to take that responsibility. And so all banking will be coordinated through the Treasury because the government will be the printer of money, not some other bank. So it's which is going to be awesome. We haven't had that since Lincoln printed greenbacks,
Hmm.
Civil War time. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for the
you're
answer.
welcome.
Thank you, Gail. Okay, so we have Dr. Pamela asking, will gift taxes apply to our large financial gifts to others?
My understanding is that once we launch all this, income tax goes away, and therefore the gift tax in like kind goes away. I don't think there'll be any.
Well, that's the consensus. All right, Mark, you are on the air if you want to be. If you want to unmute, Mark.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Yeah.
there we go. Hi, Mark.
Hey, wonderful work. Wonderful work. Will, my question to you is, what happens with money if it's in a trust at your bank?
You'll still have the opportunity to convert it to the new currency. Like if it's sitting in a bank account, there's going to be a record of what's there. I'm not saying that all situations can be saved, because I don't know the full status on that. But if you've got funds in a bank account it doesn't matter whether it's under a corporate name or a trust, it'll be handled the same way. There's still going to be an opportunity for that to be converted into the new currency on what we believe will be a one-to-one basis, even though I expect that the fiat dollar to drop precipitously. That will be one of the gifts is, we're exchanging a devalued dollar for one that doesn't.
And what is your advice on what's happening now with all this information that's coming out? I heard McCarthy today talk about some stuff that he was even what you mentioned earlier. The young lady was mentioning about the Vin Diesel, movie with the child trafficking and stuff like that. He mentioned something about that they're going to actually post it and the movie at the over there in the District of Columbia. My thing to you is we protect ourselves. There's a lot of people listening to you right now and watching you. What is something that we could do to protect ourselves for those that don't have the knowledge or information like you do in banking?
Here's the thing is, I do believe that if you've got funds sitting in a bank account and it's not in trading or stocks or anything else, right? It's just, let's say it's cash. I'm going to use that example. If funds are sitting in the bank and you've got cash, you're probably not going to lose that because there's going to be a record in the system. Okay. However, you're going to lose access to it when the cards fail, when the plastic doesn't work. Okay. So having some physical cash on hand is important to help you get through what will be the transition. In addition to having supplies, having some metals, having those things are, I think, all important about helping you get through that. We're going to see silver and gold probably break out in a big way once the old system fails. I don't expect it before then on a major scale, but once that finally, we see that first big stock market crash or whatever, that it's gonna bust loose. We all know the metals market is, it's fixed. I mean, the fix is in, right? They've been controlling that. That's going to break loose, and it's going to be freed. So you're going to see some adjustments. I think you'll see silver make a bigger gyration just because it's out of alignment right now. Typically silver to gold ratio would run somewhere in the 10 to 20 to 1 ratio, which is historically that's been what it's been through, the last thousands of years. Right now we're sit at about 85 to 90 to 1. So obviously silver's way low, right? So silver's going to have this upward movement to try to balance into that normal ratio. I think there's a possibility, and I can't say for certain, but I think there's a possibility that as the pendulum begins to swing, that it goes so far it almost hits parity with gold before it settles back. I know that sounds crazy, but it wouldn't surprise me to see something like that occur.
Do you think then it's better to invest in the silver than in Bitcoins?
Well, I can't give you financial advice of where to invest.
No, not asking for financial advice,
But I'm just going to let you know that the things that will survive what's about to happen is cash and metals. Those are the things that I think survive the whatever's about to take place here. Anything that's in a stock market, I think we've had lots of warning, get out. That's going to be the risk you take if you're there.
Take it out of there, you're saying.
If you're not in there, if you're just into, you just got cash in accounts or whatever, that's probably not as dangerous. But the stock market could undergo any number of gyrations. And I've heard various things like, the Dow could go all the way down to $500 or 500 points. I don't know. I do know that it's going to be dramatic when it hits. Is it going to go down that low? Who knows? I think what happens though is the market itself, and I'm talking about the stock markets, they're fixed, just like gold and silver's fixed. The moment the levers are removed and that starts moving on the market, then it's going to move with the panic or faith of the people. Okay. So it'll settle to whatever the people say it's going to be. Hope that helps.
Yep. Will, thank you much. Keep up the great work.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we have Dr. Pamela is wondering, will ZIM holders be paid according to grams of gold and milligrams of gold?
Haven't been told on that. And I think it's somewhat dependent on the projects that people have to do. I've never heard anybody, actually none of the currencies and ZIM included, never heard anybody quote a price. So I don't know that there's going to be that. I have heard, however, that if you've got a project to do, you've got something you want to do to help humanity, they're going to try to help you see that realized. So maybe that affects the price. I can't say. I've just heard that they want to see these projects happen. So they're going to try to do what they can to help you. Will that be reflected in physical metals? Like you're saying, grams of gold. It's going to be delivered in the new currency, which is connected to gold. But what the ratio is on the new dollar to grams of gold, I don't know, because that hasn't been shared yet.
Well, you answered the question. It'll be paid in the new currency. Yeah.
All of the currency trend, the revaluation of currencies or bonds, historical bonds, all of that will be paid in the new currency, and it will not be paid in fiat dollars. So if you're wondering what's taking so long, it's because we don't have the new currency yet. Okay. And you can just kind of sit back and just rest easy that we're going to get there.
Yep. David is asking, will the CBDCs be backed by gold or assets? And is it part of the QFS?
The CBDCs are, it's just simply, it's still fiat in the way that the Fed wants to do it. So all it is just a digitization of your dollar. It's still fiat. It doesn't have anything backing it, anything like that. Now, if they switch us to the new currency, yeah, all that's backed. Okay. It's gonna be a weight of gold to, a certain dollar or $20 bill or whatever it is. Okay. It's going to be a fixed number, and it's going to be the same in every country. So the peso is going to have as much value as the dollar, as maybe the euro or the pound or the whatever, because everybody's going to be fixing to a metal. Really, everybody's currency has the same value, if that makes sense.
I'm guessing that the managers of the new monetary system will take from the old that the Fed people created whatever is useful and incorporate it, maybe merge it, and whatever isn't useful, they'll just get rid of. So,
well, the interesting thing is the new system, the quantum financial system, is all about restoring sovereignty to the individual. So you control your own bank account.
yes,
I mean, it's in the cloud technically, but still only you can control it. Only you can see it. There isn't a bank on the planet that can see what you have unless you give them permission to see it. Okay. Yeah. So it brings us back into full responsibility as individuals to be completely in control of our lives and to be fully responsible ourselves. And I think that's a good thing generally.
It's going to probably take an adjustment time for the former slaves to get used to freedom and how to use it, how to make use of it.
It will. I mean, it took the children of Israel 40 years, right? So yeah. It won't take us that long. But nevertheless, I think there's going to be a series of educational things we're going to have to do. We're going to have to learn about how to live a sovereign, free and completely responsible life for ourselves.
Yeah. And how to be inner governed.
Yes.
CJ, you've had your hand up.
Hi, Thompson. I will, thank you.
Hi.
Just a quick shout out to the Good News Ambassador, Patricia. I hear you on Jared Rand's call, so keep up the good work. My question is, so we are aware of this. For people who are not aware, is there some kind of plan for them to help them? Because this is going to be crazy. We have our food supply, we're ready, but I have a lot of friends, and I can go around and telling them this crazy stuff, but is there some kind of plan for these people, or do they just?
I think there'll be some instructions given in the EBS. The EBS isn't just a one and done. It's going to be a series of messages over a number of days. Okay. So, and in fact, one of the messages that we know will be done during that time is there's going to be a message about how to connect to the new internet, because we're going to have the new quantum internet. The old one is so, it's a cesspool. I'll just put it that way. So we're all just going to connect to the new internet. They've already migrated over most all the websites, except those that won't be. All the porn and stuff, that's not going to be migrated, but the good stuff is. And so once we connect them, we'll be able to have access. So that's one example. I think there's going to be a series of messages that will give some direction to the people of what they can do to get themselves set up and to continue on with their lives in the new system. I think it'll make more sense when that happens. The first thing is probably the first several days they're going to be in shock and awe. And then they're going to have to get over that. And then, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, CJ, we're going into a golden age. So that's a huge historic thing. And obviously, there is going to be a flood of new information coming from millions of sources. The White Hats, the people organizing the monetary transformation, have their own videos, The NASARA related people will have their own educational series. But in addition to that, think of all the voices that have been silenced over the decades. These voices that are just kind of laying low and keeping quiet will be suddenly heard because they won't be suppressed anymore. So you're going to see an
Amen to that.
explosion of fantastic knowledge coming out that was just hidden before.
I would imagine there would be some websites that they've already pre-populated with information about, you know, what's taking place, what's happening, that people then can go and read for themselves, and they'll probably be instructed to do that, you know, during the EBS or whatever.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, CJ.
Nice suit, Will. You look good.
Thank you.
Joanne, you have your hand up.
I do. Hey, thanks a lot for this, Will. My question is
Oh, you're
this.
welcome.
I'm just looking for your opinion of what you think will happen to insurance products, like insurance policies that have a cash value, whether it be a life or long-term care that you could cash out of. You think those will go away?
What I think is that I don't think insurance completely goes away, because there's probably always going to be a need to insure against risk.
Mhm.
But I do think it will dramatically change, because I think you're going to have a release of abundance coming in this new system that's going to at least lessen some of the heavy load for insurance that we might be under now, where we just can't bear any risk at all because we're on a razor's edge, you know. So I think there's always going to be a need to do that. And if you look at it from a commercial perspective, I mean, I can't imagine a contractor putting up a building that didn't insure the process in case, you know, a fire happened, he lost all the materials or whatever. So I still think there's going to be that need. Now, when it comes to the medical side of insurance, covering our health and stuff, I do think there's going to be a lot of changes with health. And I think that has to do with the availability of the new technology. I think you'll see prices really come down though, because they're very elevated right now. In fact, in the United States, we probably have the highest cost of medical care in the world. We're way above everybody else. And is there a reason for that? Not really, other than they can do it, so they do.
Right. But do you think there'll be any loss of those policies if a person is holding on to those? Will they be?
It's going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on the individual insurance company. Here's what happens. Insurance company takes your premiums and then they invest that into the markets or wherever to grow it so that they have a nest egg in case they have to pay a claim, right? The question is, where did they invest their money? Are they going to lose their money and then suddenly they can't meet the claims? That's the question I don't think any of us can answer. And that's going to be individual for each company.
Yep.
Depending on how well they prepared themselves.
Yep. Makes sense. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah. Good input.
Thank you, Joanne. We had a couple of questions from Gail. One is, please tell us more about the QFS and are QFS accounts available for funds to be moved into?
The truth is everyone will get an account. Maybe you can even have more than one. There's also going to be the ability to set them up for trusts and set them up for companies and everything else. So the QFS it's the new way of doing banking. It's kind of like banking in a cloud. Okay. However, you will be able to go to a local ATM or a bank and be able to still do like cash withdrawals. Like they still need to provide some services there. We're going to have cash for a while. We might eventually become a cashless society, but I don't see that being, that could be 5 to 10 years away at least. So it's going to take some time, but ultimately it's not that much different than how you bank now. If you're used to online banking, it's going to be kind of similar. Some people say, yeah, well, I Zelle money to my daughter when she needs this or whatever. She can send me $25. It's going to be kind of like that, folks. You're going to have a digital online system. You can log in and you can send money to anybody else and they can send money to you, and it's all free. There's no charges for this. It all just moves and it's there in seconds. So it's Zelle, but better. Okay. And in general terms.
Very good. So thank you. And Jean, you had your hand up.
Yes, hi, Tonson. You're looking great as always, Mr. Wizard.
Thank you.
Help, Mr. Wizard.
How's
And,
California? How are things in
oh-
California?
Oh my God, aren't you in California?
Oh, I've been over in Iowa for a few months. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
The
that.
Golden Domes.
It
Yes,
is
the
starting to get, it's hot, it's beautiful, it's
meditation
summertime.
community. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I couldn't tell by your background, so,
Oh, that's
but anyways,
Barbara. Yeah.
oh yeah, I know. Anyways, thank you. And Mr. Barney, thank you so much.
Oh,
Very
you're
quick
welcome.
question. Thank you, Mr. Barney. Just one quick question. Once we get our own quantum financial system account, our new money is in that account. Let's say we want to go buy some property and they say, can you show us proof of funds? And you may not want to show all the money that you have in that one account. So I'm wondering, with your experience in banking, what do you think is the easiest, simplest way to show proof of funds? Whether you put that
In the case of real estate, it's the most simple thing is to just send it to the title company and there's validation. That way you don't have to show what's in your accounts. And all of the title closing companies, they'll be able to receive on the QFS. So you could just say, yep, there's money for this transaction and they can validate it. You can't get any better than that. In terms of, do I need a letter or whatever? This is kind of interesting. This isn't like banks. Okay. Typically with banks, you might go to a bank and the bank could get you a bank comfort letter or something that indicates, yeah, you have capacity, right, to do this transaction, and they're verifying that for you. With the QFS system, you're responsible. You are your own bank, okay, in a sense. So the most simple way for you to validate that is to just simply put it into an escrow account, and then there's no question.
So I want to buy a piece of property, and they don't even want to show it to me to say, how do I know you have the funding, right? They don't know me. I'm a stranger. Can you show us proof that you can buy this $2 million home? So,
yeah, and you don't have to put everything in. Let's say it is let's use your numbers, $2 million house. Well, you could send 200,000 to the title company and say, I want to see the house. I'll send you the rest if I want to buy it, right? And they can hold on to that as a deposit.
okay.
And so it just depends on, how you want to do that. But normally you put a couple $100,000 down, they're going to be like, yeah, when can you meet me at the house? I got the keys.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think it's going to be much easier than you think. And we're so used to being in a debt system where everybody's in debt up to their eyeballs and we got to get bank validations that we're good for the credit to buy this house and all this nonsense. That's going to go away because people are going to have the ability to pay cash. Right. And so I think a lot of that stuff that we've been experiencing in the past, I think will go away. It's going to improve a lot.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've
You're welcome.
never bought property yet, so I don't know.
Oh,
the
well then,
procedure. So that's why I
I'll
asked you.
tell you, if you pick out the title company you want to close your transaction, it doesn't matter. You just find one in your local area. You say, I want to use it for my closing. They'll say, great. I want to send you a deposit to hold in escrow for my house purchase. They'll do that and they can validate to the realtor. Yeah, you've got capability.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
You're
Jean.
welcome.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Tonson.
Okay, Lambsdorff, let's hear from you today. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, super. Really appreciate the show here. Two questions. One's regarding the birth certificate, you know, how it's been floated on the exchanges and all that and made money and so on. Well, I know of a company, you have to pay $5,000, but they will do the paperwork for you, all that stuff, and help you to become the secured party creditor. And thus you're able to buy a house, a car, whatever.
Oh, so you can get
Um,
access to those funds then. Yeah. Yeah, that's
right,
good.
right. Like you can't,
Yeah.
yeah, like you can't directly cash into the trust, but you
But
can
but
use
that
those funds
account can
legally.
pay for your services, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yes,
it's needed for
exactly.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is that still going to be, because it takes about, they say 9 months. It's got to go, even though I'm Canadian, it's got to go through the IRS because they're, you know, the top of the whole corporation structure around the world.
That is a really good question because I know the IRS is going to go away. It's going to be turned into the what is I used to know the name, something tax agency, but
It
that's
takes about 9
primarily
months, they
we're
said.
going to a sales tax only system, right? So a lot of this stuff will have to be resolved. I'm kind of curious. I have the same question as you. I don't know fully the answer on can we still access those accounts on the other side of the transition?
They
Because
have
no
it
one
100%.
with authority has been able to explain that to me if that's possible on the other side. My premise of it is this: if they've amassed those funds with your name, they ought to pay for your house. They should pay for your stuff. They've been
Yeah,
using
yeah,
your life and your name to make the money. So should
yeah.
we get access to it? I think in principle we should. How will that work? I don't know the answer. I wish I did.
Well, they have 100% success rate.
Okay.
But it takes about 9 months, to accomplish, to, you know, do all the paperwork and
I
all
would
that, because
imagine that time frame would shorten up with what we're about to go through.
so, okay, so my question is it still going to be valid? Can I still use it, or am I going to throw $5,000 out the window?
I don't
See where I'm
know.
coming from?
So you're probably paying them to go through all the effort of researching it and doing everything.
No,
You're paying for service,
not
right?
researching it, but putting the paperwork through, because I need the
Yeah, you're
EIN
paying
number and
them
all
for the
that.
service though to process it all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so,
I don't, will it stop working where they can't process it for you anymore? I don't know the answer to that. That's probably a better
okay,
question for them than I could help you with.
okay,
I can just
okay,
tell you in principle, I think you should be able to access it, but I don't know.
yeah, okay.
Lansdorf,
The
I
other
have a question
question,
for you. I've been hearing
sure.
of companies like this for 2 decades that make the claim that they can do that, but I haven't heard of any that have had very much success. Would you be willing to share what company that is that has such a high success rate?
Yes, they're called the Matrix Freedom.
Okay, you want to put their link into the chat or something for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
I've been on a
Well,
Zoom call with them
theoretically,
twice.
almost every country that has this system, which is 190 something, of a, birth certificate, income tax, the whole thing, I would imagine that should be available to the whole world.
It should be.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. They said it was available to everybody. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I've been on a Zoom call with them twice.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, they're out of the UK. And I've been researching this for quite a few years, and all the dots line up, and I've got no reservation with them at all. You know,
Awesome.
the person that spearheaded the whole thing, has been in the financial field for all his life. Anybody got railroaded by the deep state, and it's complicated. It's a long story.
Yep.
But he started a journey trying to find out what's going on here because he had all the evidence, all the proof, and yet he was just railroaded, right? So he wanted to get to the bottom of it, right? So my other question is about the quantum financial system. Someone was telling me that if we don't have our ISO tokens or crypto linked into the quantum financial network, we will lose them. Like I have XRP, thousands of XRP, XLM. And so they said it should be in the trust wallet, like the lobster wallet.
Well, the what I was told is that the cryptos that are compliant with ISO 222 they're going to be fine. There's going to be a way to move that into your account.
So it doesn't matter what wallet you have.
XRP and XLM, I believe, are compliant. There's also
Yeah.
several others that are as well.
Yes.
So that's what I was told, is if they're compliant with that, then that should meet the standard.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, because someone was telling me different. They were saying if it's not a part of if it's not in that network, you could lose them. So
I mean, I've just been told, hey, if it's compliant with that, then it should be no problem. What it sounds to me like the movement of funds in the new QFS system is almost like, it almost sounds like they've adopted Ripple in terms of being able to move stuff in seconds. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it actually works. But there's banks using Ripple right now when they need to settle something quick.
Oh, the banks have been using Ripple since I think it's 2009, and in some cases they've been affiliated with companies in the year 2000, like a long.
Yeah, they don't want to tell people they're doing that, but yeah, they've been doing it.
Yeah.
See, what's interesting is if let's say you want to send a payment to a friend in the UK and you're in Canada. Well, that money is going to probably clear through the central bank in Canada. Then it's going to go through the BIZ, Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. Then it's going to go to the UK, and it's going to clear there. So it's going to take like 2, 3, 4 days, whatever, right? But when the banks are trying to do a deal with each other, they're not waiting 4 days. No, they want it cleared right now, and so they Ripple.
I see. Okay.
That's just what happens, It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I don't want to take any more time. Thank you so much for your opinion on that. And I will work on getting that link and send it in the chat.
Thank you. Or you can email it to us. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of questions, and again,
and I don't know that I've got endless time, Tonson. We could let's do about 10 minutes, and we didn't even cover that other topic you wanted me to hit on, which was that documentary by Dr. Greer.
Well, you can say, a couple minutes, and I think we have more questions and people lined up than there's going to be time for. As usual, you're too popular, but go ahead.
Well, so the documentary is called The Lost Century and How Do We Get It Back? And it's Dr. Stephen Greer. He's done a lot of different projects, film projects. But this one's about the technology that they've suppressed and kept from us. And there has been a lot of that. In fact, they created such a system of fear around issuing technology that it actually helped to inhibit anybody putting anything out there. And, a lot of that has to do with power. Like, the big thing in power is, right now we're burning natural gas or we're nuclear or whatever, we're going through a process to get that power. And they've had technology to access the 0 point energy that's already in the ethosphere all around us for decades. You don't have to burn anything. It's there instantly. and you got all you need. The power thing is huge because without power, you can't industrialize. You can't really manufacture. Everything requires power. Even the farmer needs power in the form of diesel fuel to put in his tractor so that he can raise that crop, right? Everything we do, every piece of anything that we trade with each other, whether it be a product, bottle of water, whatever, it's going to take some energy to get that into a package and delivered to a customer. If we used the 0 point energy that's abundantly around us, it takes our cost of that energy down dramatically. What does that do? Well, it brings the cost of everything down. And it makes it abundantly available to everybody. You're no longer held hostage to the power company or how much gas you got to put in your car. Because if you've got a 0 point energy device, put it in your electric car. You never have to plug it in.
Will
It'll
free
run
all
endlessly.
slaves. It will free all of humanity. It's free.
It's dramatic. So the power thing has been, the whole thing around energy has been really manipulated. And I think Stephen does a great job in this film of exposing that and how that's done. I mean, I know of one company who's trying to bring a device to market that is a 0 point device. And they're absolutely terrified to put that product on a shelf or to sell it to people. They're afraid they're going to end up dead. So what are they doing? They're trying to make a device that they can sell power to the power company and let them still stay in control by using their distribution system of their lines. They figured, well, that's at least the way we can get our technology moving and we can hopefully stay alive. Isn't it amazing, though, that this has happened, or that a lot of these inventors get so terrified, so afraid that they don't want to bring their technology forward, or they're going to withhold the secret sauce from the patent or whatever it is that really makes it work, because, they're afraid of what might happen. And then, of course, they eventually die and the secret goes with them, right? Until somebody else comes along and figures it out and does the next round. But it keeps going on like that. So here's the thing, folks. When we remove this oppression that's been controlling energy, which is about to happen, this war we're in is not a money war. Money is a component, but it's not a money war. It is literally about freedom. It's about being released from the slavery. And this containment of the technology is the same thing. Where the technology is going to be free. It's going to be available. Now, I don't mean inventors don't get any money for their inventions. It's quite the opposite. They'll probably sell all the devices they can make. But it's going to be freely available where people can then give it to people, make money on it, provide everybody with a cool new device that gives them energy and can do all kinds of cool things with it. So it's what we're going through right now. Yeah, money's a component, but it isn't the only thing. It's just a part of, and it's really about the freedom of the whole world. And so it's super exciting. If any of you have an opportunity to see the film, you can find it on, I think it's on Prime, maybe Amazon Prime.
Yes.
You can rent it or buy it. Dr. Greer's even had a hard time getting distribution, but I think he's got it through Amazon, so you can go there to find it. But it's called The Lost Century, and very well done. I like the presentation. I think he really hits on all of the prime components. Even touches on the alien or UFO component to this. Most of that is our people playing around, by the way, because we're not really in free open commerce with the universe yet. They want to make sure that we're not harmful to ourselves and others first, right? Before that's going to happen. But the technology has been around a long time. To give you an example, Nikola Tesla had a car that he drove around in 1918 that was electric, and he never plugged it in. Let's let that sink in. We're 100 years later, and we do not have an electric car that you can't plug in.
I think it had no batteries too.
He had a battery, but it was just a small storage device. It was really just a pass through, right? It was just designed to. It just gave you a little bit of this little. If you need a little extra boost or whatever, you had a little reserve, right? But this has been around a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, the first automobiles were electric, not gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
Gasoline came later. The first automobiles were electric. So it's fascinating what we're dealing with here. And to say the future is exciting is an understatement. There's so much cool stuff. Next 10 years are going to be explosive. Awesome.
There's at least two questions I would love to see answered before you go, Will.
Okay.
As many more as you have time for, but one of them, I'm sure a lot of people listening were wondering, would you please give us the exact name of the QT Wave device?
It's called QT Wave. That is what
Somebody
they
said
call
they
it.
Googled it and nothing came up.
Oh, well, go to quantumhealingsystems.com, I think it is, or .org, I forget. Quantum Healing System. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yes.
Is it showing up?
Yes.
It's kind of reflective on the light, but Quantum Healing Systems, and you'll see it there. They had an influx, and they put a hold on orders at the moment because this device is actually a 3D printed case. It's off of the prototype line. The full production units were supposed to be out right now, but they ordered circuit boards and they came not built properly. So they had to get those redone. And then the cases have been sitting in customs. So it's kind of held things up a little bit. So if you go there and you're like, you can't order it yet, don't worry. The ordering will open back up when they're able to start shipping devices again. So.
Okay, thank you. Eric is asking, is the actors' strike tied to the takedown of the media?
Well, somebody's been doing a little homework. Hollywood is shut down right now. That needed to happen because they've got to clean things up. It's got to be cleaned up. And what a better cover story than this. And you know what's interesting in Hollywood is you've got certain actors that make a lot of money, but the production people, the grips that work on the set, the makeup artists, the everything, all the crew. Takes a lot of crew to make a movie. I don't know if you guys realize that. They're really not being paid very well. They get paid very little. So it's probably a good thing that they're asking for a little compensation for what they do. But the bigger story is, this is cover. We're cleaning up Hollywood right now.
How much more time do you have?
I'll take two more questions, and then I've got to call it a night.
All right. I'll take one from chat and one from the hand up. Let's see. Tricia is asking, will funds in the QFS need to be insured for amounts over 250,000 or just the portion that's actually in the bank?
Any funds that's in the quantum financial system won't need to be insured because they are at zero risk. It's not like a bank where the bank's playing with your money. No one plays with it. It literally just sits there waiting for you to play with it. So no need for FDIC with what's coming. What's the second part of that question?
I think that was it. Yeah. In fact,
okay.
I think the QFS won't even be in the banks per se, technically, right? I mean, it's
not. The system resides in the cloud.
Right.
And everybody has access to it. In fact, you're the only one that has access to it. I think there's going to be biometric security thumbprint of, facial recognition, something, right, in order to get in. Banks can't see it. The only thing banks can see is what you send to the bank. They could see that, but they can't see what's in your QFS account.
Might even make banks obsolete, or at least a lot of their services today obsolete.
I think what you're going to have is you're going to have only those banks that really can provide a service. So that's going to be vaults. It's going to be wealth management, maybe investment programs, some things like that. So, but the checking accounts, the savings account, that's going to be gone. The banks that specialize in that, they're just, yeah. I would imagine we'll see a 60 to 80% reduction in the amount of banks.
All right, Shannon had a hand up to say something more. Please come on, Shannon, and let's.
Okay, we'll take her question.
Thanks very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Wonderful. Okay, this is one quick question. Will the new internet and the QFS be able to work on our current hardware and computers? I've heard it will work on the current system, and then I've also heard no, when you go for your redemption, you're going to get a new quantum computer, and then you're going to get a quantum phone, stuff like that. What
I think there's been
about
some there's a little bit of misleading information on that. They're not going to just be handing out a bunch of new devices to everybody. If you have a modern device, an iPhone, like a Samsung or something like this, you have in that device what's needed to run the software. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to get access. And, if you got older devices, yeah, they're not going to work, but the newer smartphones, they have the access. The only thing that's going to be different is how it connects. So like I said, it's going to be cloud-based. So you do have to have a connection, right? And it's only in the new, you can't access a QFS except through the new internet. Okay. So when the EBS comes out, it'll probably be towards the end of the 10-day period, but they're going to give instructions about how you can access and get onto the new internet. And then, that opens the doors for everything. So, so you'll be able to function just fine. There has been a lot of devices.
Starlink? Is that going to be Starlink?
Possibly. I haven't been told for certain that it's all Starlink. It's I think it's a portion of ground and air. I think it's both.
Okay, thank you.
That it runs on. Yeah.
Okay, concluding information.
Well, thanks everybody for bearing with us tonight. I wish I had more time, but we'll have to, maybe we can do this again in a few weeks as we get into August. I just want to say that enjoy this. You're living through one of the most historical times in history. This will go down in the history books as one of the biggest events to occur on this earth. It'll be right up there with the flood and everything else. So take time to just, hug your family, express your love. Don't worry about all the weird stuff that's going on, the distractions of white powder in the White House. Don't worry about that stuff. Just enjoy your family. Focus on the things that are lasting, and that's our relationships with each other. If you've got family members that think all of this is a bunch of hooey and that you're crazy and you need to be, checked into an asylum, just know that we understand you. We all have family members that feel that way about us too. And it's just all part of this process. We all wake up at a different moment. But don't be hard on your family. If they don't get it yet, they will. When EBS happens, it's going to be like a glass of cold water in the face. It's going to be a hard wake up, whereas we've had a softer, more gradual wake up process. And they're going to need you. when that happens, they're going to really be wondering what to do. So as the phones come back on and all that stuff, you will get the phone calls, and then you can just tenderly walk them through learning about everything you've learned. So love each other. We're coming into something grand and beautiful, and it's close at hand, folks. This is 2023. This will not go to 2024. Okay. We're not that far away, and it's going to be so awesome. I can't wait to see many of you on the other side of this when you're doing your projects and living in your new house, and things are just going so much better for you. It's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Thank you
yes.
all. You have a wonderful evening. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Will. There are thanks just pouring in the chat to you. So yeah, you're doing well. You're in rare form and continuing to radiate and shine. So we all love you.
Excellent. Well, I'll come and see you when I can, Tonson. I guess I need to come up and visit the domes.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you're ready. Okay.
Sounds great.
Take care.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.